from your local library. Well, we may not be quite as local to you, depending on where you are in the country, but we still welcome you virtually. And happy Women's History Month. As Beyonce once sang, women rule the world. Well, maybe not, but we have made quite a few contributions to history, and this month is all about celebrating those. And I have some book suggestions to ring in the month, and I highly recommend checking them out. So the first one that I have has been a national bestsellers, and it is Valiant Women, the extraordinary American servicewomen who helped with World War II. And this is by Lena Andrews, and it highlights World War II took contributions from pretty much everyone to make it successful for the Allies. And this chronicles women's role in the war, from serving in waves, to being chemists, to working in factories. It's going to cover it all. And another interesting aspect is quite a few women served as code breakers during the war. So definitely check this one out. And I actually have quite a few suggestions for women who had a major impact during World War II. And the next one I highly, highly recommend. It is Agent Josephine, American Beauty, French Hero, and British Spy by Damian Lewis. And it follows Josephine Baker. She grew up in the US. She immigrated over to France, where she was a performer, very famous for her fashion, for her very specific dances, and her singing. But you might not realize this, but she was a part of like the French Resistance when Nazi Germany conquered France in World War II. She would even hide secrets in her sheet music. So definitely read more about this very, very fascinating woman. And then next up is another I find her fascinating, Eleanor Roosevelt. And this one is the First Lady of World War II, Eleanor Roosevelt's Daring Journey to the Front Lines and Back by Shannon McKinnon Schmidt. And this one I had found out about from a podcast, History Uncovered, and they had an interview with the author. It was just fascinating, and Schmidt really chronicles this very secret journey that Eleanor Roosevelt went on because she wanted to see what the front lines were like, what challenges the guys were facing, and be able to bring that information back. And it was just really cool. So definitely check that one out. This next one is also World War II, and it's Women of War, the Italian assassins, spies, and couriers who fought the Nazis. And this is by Suzanne Cope. So if you like a good spy story, read about them in real life. Assassins, right here, real life, hard to believe. Sometimes reality is stranger than fiction. Now, I promise that is all I have currently to suggest for World War II. We're going to move on to some other very fascinating women, including, if you're a fan of Hamilton, we have to remember the ladies. And here is Abigail Adams. Her letters back and forth between her and her husband are really great. And she really was, as the subtitle says, a witness to a revolution. She could watch Bunker Hill out of her back window, and this chronicles her life from being a witness of the revolution to being one of our first ladies. But she was a very educated and fascinating woman. And speaking of very fascinating women, we have Cleopatra, last queen of Egypt. And Cleopatra was very, very savvy. And I remember reading not this particular biography, but a younger reader biography. And it was just cool, interesting how she was able to make connections with Caesar and Mark Antony. all in a bid to kind of survive like the tumultuous era that she found herself in. She was definitely a survivor, albeit, as often in life, sometimes all the smarts can't save you. And then I am a big fan of Queen Elizabeth I. So here we have the betrayal of Mary, Queen of Scots, Elizabeth I and her greatest rival by Kate Williams. And these two ladies are very fascinating. I still side very much with Elizabeth. Mary, while I'm sympathetic for her, she did make some rather poor choices in husbands, and going to England where she would be like one of the greatest threats to Elizabeth's throne, getting caught in like a plot to assassinate Elizabeth. She kind of, I hate to say it, dug her own grave in a way, but I still have sympathy for Mary. And she did have a very interesting life, but Elizabeth survived so much, from her volatile father to her sister, who she did not see eye to eye with on religion. She had a lot that she had to overcome in her childhood, and then becoming one of the first queens of England after her sister Mary I. And she was a successful queen for an Elizabethan golden age. I could talk more about Elizabeth, but I will wrap it up here. So definitely check out some of these books. If you have other favorite books about women history or biographies about women, share them in the comments section. I would love to see them. Until next time, let's keep learning together. Bye.